Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? This evening, I should say. Turning on my camera. There we go. Sorry for the late start tonight. Could not be avoided. So I do apologize for that. But I'm happy to see those that were here anyway. That's very cool that you guys are loyal enough to look for me every Friday for our Friday night ghost stories. We're in the store for quite a storm here. It looks like the weekend. The whole weekend is going to be a washout here in New Jersey. So, good night, a good weekend for thoughts of scary stories, I guess. But let me say hello to those that are here. I see Arm Distance. I see TT. I see Tommy Stiggs. I see Arlene. I see Emmanuel Spataro. I see Fancy Nancy. Who else do I see here? I have some people were here before at the normal time. I saw that in the chat, which is what I mentioned earlier. Maureen was here earlier. Ralphie was here. iWatch. So hopefully they'll come back and check things out as I go along here tonight. But I had an event to go to, so couldn't start at 9. But hey, at least I started, right? Even though it's not on the exact time, at least we started. So let me light my friends here. Edgar and Poe, as you guys named them. And then my standby candle. Hold on. Wait a minute. We got stuff on here. We got plastic on this guy. How are we going to do that? We got plastic on him. Can't have that. But we won't. But tonight's topic, as you can tell from the thumbnail, is probably something everybody's heard of, at least over the years. The Jersey Devil is quite famous legend in New Jersey. In fact, it has become such a main part of our culture here in New Jersey. We have a hockey team that's named after it. And I remember hearing about it when I was just little. I mean, when I was a little kid, it was something that was always there. We heard about it in school. It was always something that was distinctly New Jersey. But I never really looked into the legend or the story or the sightings, which is what we will do this evening. Let's see here. Let me shut my light off. Here we go. There we go. That's a good ambiance for a little storytelling. There we go. Co-Train, how are you, my friend? Gianni in the house. Nice to see you guys. So let's start out with the legend itself. And then I kind of assembled a history of it, of sightings and events over the years that I'm going to go through. And I'm curious if anyone else has had any encounters or has ever met anyone or spoke to anyone who said that they saw the Jersey Devil. That's what I'm really curious about. But let's start with the origin of the legend, right? The legend begins in 1735, pretty early on in American history. And it takes place in a place called Leeds Point, New Jersey, which is in South Jersey, in the Pine Barrens. And Leeds is the name of the town. now. Leeds Point is the name of the town now, but it was really named after one of the founding families of that region. And that was quite common during the colonial times, when a prominent family would take over an area or build up an area or farm an area. They would tend to name that area after themselves. So Leeds was the area, it was the family that the area was eventually named after. And the families was made up of two, obviously, a husband and a wife, David and, was it David? I think it was David. Let me see. Why am I second guessing myself now? Yes, David. David and Jane Leeds were farmers and fishermen. You know, South Jersey was big for oysters, fishing oysters off of the bay and the inlets and stuff like that. So they did that as well. But anyway, they had 12 children, which even for back then was a tremendous amount. It was a very large family, 12 children. And in February of 1735, Jane Leeds is about to give birth to her 13th child. Well, Jane was fed up with childbirth, fed up with this family that was constantly growing. And as she's going through labor, she's having a difficult time, and she gets so frustrated with the whole thing that she, in a moment of weakness, yells out, "Lord, may this one be a devil." She's in sheer pain. She's in frustration. She's so tired. She's worn out. She's taken care of 12 kids. She's going to have a 13th kid. She can't take it anymore. And her frustration just explodes from the pain of labor. And she curses this kid. Well, unfortunately to her, for her sake and the family's sake, it turns out that this curse actually turned into something, because that baby is born. And at first, the baby's born normal, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed little boy. But within 20 minutes, the child begins to transform and transforms into such a monster that the world has never known. His head turns into the head of a horse. His back begins to morph, and giant bat wings spring out. His feet turn into hooves, and his hands turn into claws. Well, as you can imagine, this was quite a sight. And not only does he morph into this horrendous creature, he also grows tremendously large at the same time. He grows to be 7-8 feet in height at the same time. All this happens within 20 minutes because of Jane Leeds' curse. Now, part of the story even says that she was a witch, and that's why this curse was so successful, that she was in league with the devil, and this was part of a payback, I guess, or something like that. Who knows? But that's not the main story. That's just kind of an offshoot story, that they said that she had been a witch. The main story is really that she just cursed it, and the forces of evil took advantage of that and turned this child into such a monster. Well, this monster which becomes to be known as the Jersey Devil, rages in this cabin in which he's born, kills one of the midwives that was there to help give him life, and then flies up the chimney in a rage that basically destroys the chimney. It collapses as he flies through this chimney and breaks out and flies into the dark night. In this cold February night, the chimney collapses in. So that's the basis of the story. And it's said that this creature has been out there in the Pine Barrens terrorizing it ever since. So what is that? What is that? 285 years, something like that, 290 years. And over the years, there have been many sightings of this creature and many stories, many sightings. And I'm going to tell you about just a few because there were actually thousands of them, but these were the main ones. Now we're going to start in 1812. Now, this is really interesting because this sighting is by someone by the name of Joseph Bonaparte. Oh, hi Gina. Hi Gerard. How are you? I see Ralphie's back. How you doing? Joseph Bonaparte, who was Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, who had come to America and had been living here. And it's said that one night he is out hunting and he comes upon some strange tracks and he follows them deep into the woods to the point where they just disappear. They just stop as if something had flown up from the air. No more tracks in the snow. Flies up into the air. Um, so at that point in time, he begins to look around. He's baffled. What has happened? How could this be possible? Where does this? I follow these tracks and they vanish. And at that point, he hears a hissing sound and a growling sound. And he looks up towards the treetops from where this sound is coming from. And he sees two glowing red eyes and the outline or figure of giant wings as this creature flaps its wings, lets out a scream, and flies off over the treetops. And this is in 1812. And Joseph Bonaparte actually writes this down, this encounter in his memoirs or his journal, that this happened. And this encounter captured his imagination or captured his spirit so much that he spent most of his life after that looking to capture the Jersey Devil, because he witnessed this. And many people didn't believe him. Many people did, but many did not. So he spent a great deal of his time trying to track down and find the Jersey Devil, but he never really did. He never had another encounter from that first one. The difference with his encounter is he describes the creature as having a camel neck and crane, like a bird, crane-like legs. So picture a horse's head with a long neck like a camel, wings, and instead of the hooves that the tail says, it has like bird feet, like crane feet. So it's kind of odd how his encounter is that different or distinct than others. But he swore about it, and he went to the grave swearing that he actually saw this thing and tried the rest of his life to try to find it, catch it, kill it, or whatever. So that was 1812. So after 1812, the Jersey Devil the sightings kind of just die out. They're not really seen or mentioned anymore. Hi, iWatch. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. And it's not until 1909 where the Jersey Devil really has an event. It really has a series of events where there's a hysteria. There is many, many sightings, all in this year, 1909. In fact, thousands of sightings in this year, that it causes such a stir. And I'm going to tell you some of the things that happened, and why it caused such a stir. But it all begins when I'm having a little hard time seeing my notes here, because this is a lot of stuff. That's why I have notes. It begins in January of 1909. And an individual by the name of Thack Chosen, that's his name, Thack. I don't know. It's a name, I guess. Thack Chosen was leaving the Woodbury Inn at closing. And it was a cold, clear night, snow on the ground. It was January 1909. And he tells the tale of what he saw and describes it as something with burning red eyes, something with huge wingspan that was flying from roof to roof. And he he runs and tells this story. Now, the interesting thing is about the same night and much farther away, there are also sightings that happen. And now these sightings happen, it's 1909, so there's not the type of rapid spreading of news, right? There isn't that. There isn't, not at all. The most you could do is take a phone call, really, if you're lucky enough to find a phone. So, and who would you call, right? Anyway, so relatively the same night, sometime in that same night, there's also sightings seen um, in Burlington. And the Burlington sites, there's 3 different sites in Burlington. 3 different people cite the devil in Burlington that same night. And all of them describe the wings and the burning red eyes. Imagine seeing burning red eyes in the darkness and what your reaction would be on a cold, dark, wintry night. I mean, that's got to be spine chilling to go through that. So these basic 4 sightings, one was Thack, and then the other 3 people in Burlington. These sightings kind of set in a hysteria loose, and the next day there's tracks found in the snow in the area of the Woodbury Inn, and there's a massive kind of hunt for the devil that goes on, where they get bloodhounds and men in large groups go out. And now the strangest thing about this is that the tracks were hooves, large hooves. They were described as being larger than a horse's, but hooves. Didn't look like a horse's, but definitely a hoof. Didn't look like a traditional horse, like it didn't have a horseshoe on it, but it was the kind of a shape of a horse, but more rectangular, and that it would. And again, these tracks would lead it through the snow into the woods. Now, the really, really weird thing about it is that the bloodhounds they got to track these tracks wouldn't track it. They wouldn't. For some reason, they just would not go along and track the tracks. They would not follow them. They were repulsed by these tracks. So that led to even more of like, what is this? Is this a demonic creature that even the dogs know not to stay away from? And news of that got out, and which kind of set more of the hysteria. In fact, schools were closed in the area. People were afraid to go out and let their children go to school. A lot of them, obviously people would walk to school back then, but they were closed. A lot of the mills in the area would close because people were concerned and afraid to walk to and from the mills because they had to go through the pine barrens to do it. So there's this mass hysteria about the devil in 1909. And in fact, like I mentioned before, there were thousands of sightings. This led to thousands of sightings over that year. In fact, a local zoo actually put out a reward for $10,000 if anybody could bring in the devil or the body of the devil, capture it or bring it in dead or alive. $10,000 was the reward. And that's what really drove a lot of people out to go looking for it. They never really found anything other than those tracks, which didn't lead anywhere. But the hysteria was kind of crazy. So that's 1909. And then right after that, it kind of at the tail end of the hysteria in 1909, there is a naval officer by the name of Stephen Decanter who is in his vessel, and it's it is anchored in an inlet or a bay around the area. And he claims to see the devil flying over the bay area, and he shoots at it with his cannon on his ship. And he claims that the cannonball hits the devil, goes through the devil, but doesn't take it down. It just flies off. So this creature is basically impervious to modern weapons, is what the word is that spreads around. And that also adds to most of the hysteria. Like if you can't shoot this thing down, how would you stop it? God forbid it came near you. And then finally, and this is like back, this is the winter of 1910, there's an incident with a trolley car where the trolley car is filled with people. So there's about, 20, 25 people in this trolley car. And as the trolley car is moving along, it's said that a winged creature is circling around pretty big. And again, they're all described the red eyes circling around it until it stops. And when it stops, it swoops down on top of the trolley car, and the people go crazy and go nuts. And it isn't until the trolley car starts up again going, that the thing shoots off and flies into the distance. And the one thing I forgot to mention, it always seems to let out this blood chilling or blood curling scream, much like a banshee. It'll scream and then it'll fly away. And people describe that sound as deafening and something that they could never you never forget or live through again. They'd never want to live through it again. So it's pretty scary stuff that comes out of its mouth. And then let's go to 19. So it kind of quiets down. 1909 and 1910, these things happen, but then it kind of quiets down. And it's not until 1927 that another incident pops up. Hey, Chris Strock, how are you? Thank you. Carmela, how are you? Thank you for dropping in. In 1927, there's a cab driver in Salem City, New Jersey. Now, if you know Salem City, it's a small, it's down in south in the Pine Barrens. It's down there. I think it might be Burlington County. I'm not sure. But anyway, Salem City is where he is. And he's on Route 9. So Route 9 goes through this. And he gets a flat tire. He gets out of this cab. He starts to fix the flat tire. As he's doing this, he hears rough rustling in the woods near him because, this part of Route 9 is rural. It's in the woods. So he has no choice, but it's 1927. He doesn't have a cell phone. He has to fix his car. He has to fix it or try to put a spare on before he can do anything else. Well, he does this, and as he's putting on the spare, he hears the rustling. He turns to look at the rustling, and out of the bush, he sees this creature emerge. And this creature he describes, once again, glowing red eyes, wings, large wingspan, very dark, like blackish, like nothing but the red eyes, because the figure itself was black with the giant wings. And he sees this creature, and at that point he panics and he runs back into the cab and shuts the door. Luckily, he had finished putting the tire on. He starts the car up, and just as he starts the car up, the thing lands on the roof of the cab and starts banging and banging on the roof of the cab. And in fact, its claw comes down onto the driver's side and tries to get into the window, which he rolls up onto the claw. And he claims that it caught the claw, and then blood spurted out of the creature's hand. And just as he's doing this, he gets the car to start, and he shoots off, and the thing flies off of his roof. And he gets away, and he brings his story back to the local area. And again, this is quite a story for the area, and people begin to share their own stories. What they had saw, what they'd seen, what their relatives have seen over the years, and it starts up another little type of hysteria for a few months. But nothing really happens other than that particular event. And things kind of go, quiet. There's no big uproar. There's occasional sightings from here to there. And in fact, there was enough sightings that in 1939, the state legislature decides to pass a resolution, I guess in jest or in fun, that states that the Jersey Devil is New Jersey's official monster. And to this day, New Jersey is the only state that has an official monster. No other state has done that. So the Jersey Devil is our official monster. So that was 1927 to 1939, occasional sightings, no real issues. Then we come to the 70s, and suddenly in the 70s, things start to heat up again. And it's kind of odd how this creature vanishes for a while, then pops up again and seems to be active. Now, why that happens, I don't know, but that seems to be the pattern here. So, let's go to 1972 when a graduate student from Stockton University, and Stockton University, I guess it was Stockton College back then, is down there in the Pine Barrens. This graduate student is driving along in her car, and she suddenly sees in the back of her windshield something, kind of like glancing as she's driving along, glancing through the rear view window. She sees something cross the road, and she slams on her brakes because it's something that's so odd that she never noticed before. It's definitely not a deer. What would it be? And as she turns around, she sees the figure of the devil. She sees the giant wings with horns, kind of like antlers, a face of a kind of the shape of a horse, and two giant hooves, and it slowly walks across the road to the other side and goes into the bushes on the other side. Well, that was enough for her. She presses on the gas and flies out of there. But that was the first major real encounter that was noted since the 30s, and from there it kind of snowballs a little bit because throughout the 70s there's different sightings. Now, the interesting thing that I find about this is that with all these sightings, there's no one's ever harmed by it. No one, the devil doesn't really harm anybody. It hasn't harmed anyone. There's no record of anyone claiming to be have harmed by the Jersey Devil. A lot, a lot of scare, a lot of fear, a lot of intimidation, a lot of screaming and bullying or whatever you want to call it, but nothing like that. Nothing where someone gets killed or maimed or vanishes or anything like that. So how bad is the Jersey Devil to begin with if he isn't doing that? According to, even according to the legend, the only one he killed was one of the midwives when he was born. In an attempt to, swipe at his mother, he kills cuts the throat of a midwife, and she dies right there. But that's the only story I could find where he actually kills anybody. So we're in the 1970s, and there's someone by the name of Sonny Zeta who is driving along on Route 9 again. Route 9 seems to be something or a place or a roadway where the devil likes to hang out. And Route 9, he's driving along on Route 9, and there's a forest on, there's forestry on one side, and on the other side is a mini mall. So this car is in the mini mall. It's not that desolate of an area. And it's in Bayville, actually, Route 9, where Route 9 cuts through Bayville. And at this point, he sees in front of him, as he's driving along, a car, something walking across the street, to the point it's huge, though. It's 10 feet tall, he describes it as. And again, it's walking across the street in front of his car, and it stops and it turns and looks at him. And the wings come up from the back of it. Again, he sees the red eyes, and then the thing flies off to the other side of the road. And so that's also around the early 70s. Now, around the same time, there's a woman by the name of Kelly who goes canoeing or rafting, I guess, on a river down in that area. And she's, riding along, having a wonderful day with her friends. And they pull to the side of the river. And in the mud, they see strange footprints, strange footprints, much like we've described before, much like the devil, uniquely to the New Jersey Devil. So they investigate it, and as they're doing that, they hear a scream in the woods, a very high pitched scream that they said cut through their bones. So at that point, they all panic and turn around, get back into the canoes, and go right down the river and don't look back. And they said that what happened was, as they're going down the river, the scream followed them as they would go farther. That again, it would show up, but it would always be to their side. So it followed them for a few miles downriver, which would have creeped me the hell out if something is screaming and following you along the river. So Again, but no one gets hurt. No one gets injured. A lot of people get scared, but nobody gets injured. And then that takes us to the 1980s. And the 1980s started to see more sightings again. There was a farmer who, and this one's creepy because this one's really creepy. This is actually in 1980. There's a farmer that has a farm outside of Wharton State Park, which is in the Pine Barrens. And one morning he wakes, he goes to check his livestock, and he finds that his pigs are all slaughtered. And these pigs are not just slaughtered, but their brains have been eaten out. And the backs of the pigs have giant claw marks in them, and the blood has been sucked away from the pigs. Now, no creature that we know of would do something like that. No animal attack would do that. If there were someone who was there being malicious, it's kind of strange for that to happen. And how would they drain the blood from the pig? So it's such a bizarre event, and there's no answer to it at all. And his only answer is that it must have been the Jersey Devil. Now, he didn't see anything or experience anything, but he that's what he sees. And this is still an unsolved event. Now, whatever killed these pigs, many believe it was the Jersey Devil that killed them. And then also in the 1980s, there is a 13-year-old boy that lives down in the Pine Barrens, and he's very comfortable in the woods, and he decides to go camping, and he goes out by himself to spend a night in the woods. And he's supposedly done this many times before. He'll go take his pole, go fishing, enjoy the solitude and the quiet of the woods. Well, one night it wasn't so solemn, and it wasn't so quiet, because what he describes as this screeching, this loud pitching screeching that petrifies him and keeps him in his tent. He had his bow and arrow with him, but he wouldn't dare come out of that tent at night because God forbid, what he would see if he heard. And he said he heard the screech. It would move all around the tent, and it would also be above the tent as if it was in the treetops or in the air. So another description of this blood curdling scream that constantly comes from the devil. And this is just a 13-year-old boy that went out by himself, which I think is kind of brave. I don't think I would do that. I don't think I'd go camping by myself in the woods. So, and then one more sighting in the 1980s where an individual by the name of Frank and his buddies go ATVing. And if you guys remember back in the 80s, ATVings were really popular, the three-wheelers. They would go do these in the Pine Barrens because the roads there were dirt roads. They're not patrolled by police. It's just, they're kind of left alone, and you can go and do what you want with those things. Well, him and his boys were going along one of these trails one day, and suddenly they hear screaming so loud that they hear it even over their helmets and their motorcycles or their ATV sounds, to the point that they come to a halt. And then suddenly all three of the ATVs go dead and will not start up again. Now, how bizarre would that be to suddenly, by some supernatural reason, they just don't work because they were in a certain area. All three of them stop working and won't work. They can't start them. And as they try to start them, the scream happens again, and the scream continues to happen. And now these three guys have no choice but to get the hell out of there. And they leave their bikes and go on foot and go off to get out of there, because they just, number one, they can't move the bikes. And number two, they're not going to hang around with that screaming happening. So they go off and come back at a later time. And when they come back at the later time, everything starts up just fine and they drive them away. So it's so bizarre how supposedly maybe the supernatural power of the devil's scream caused these motorcycles to or these ATVs to malfunction and not start. Who knows? At least that's what the tale says. So that brings us to 1993. Now, this sighting is so weird because the sighting is by a forest ranger. And he's not an anonymous guy. He's a documented forest ranger by the name of John Irwin. And one day he's doing testing along the Masilla River down in the Pine Barrens, doing testing for fecal chloroforms, and that's something that they test routinely to figure, see if there's seepage or there's pollution in the river source. So he's going about his business and he's testing this water when suddenly something rough rustling in the woods to one side of the river, and he's in the river right now. He's got his waders on and he's in there getting good samples of the water. And he describes what he sees as he looks up. He sees um, a creature about 6 feet tall with glowing red eyes, with fur all over its body, wings, and um, and arms like claws, and it's walking on 2 feet, and it's walking into the river. It walks into the river, stops, looks at him, stares at him for a while. Now he's petrified by this, doesn't know what to do or react, so he just freezes. And it continued. Then it turns around and continues to walk across the stream and goes off into the brush on the other side. Now, some people at the time said, well, you just saw a bear. The bear may have been walking on 2 feet. Well, he's a forest ranger. I think he knows what a black bear looks like. And why would he lie about that? To me, that's kind of creepy that a forest ranger, it's kind of far-fetched that he would have a mistaken identity, that he would see some type of animal and think it's something else. Spends time in the woods, studies animals, studies the forest. I think he knows what he's looking at. But this guy, unless he was under the influence of something, is a pretty good, reliable source that something strange that he never saw before came in front of him that day in the middle of that river. And then then things and that was 1993 when that happened. And also that same year, 1993, there's also an incident where a woman by the name of Fran, who was working in the Smithville Inn, was taking out her garbage, and she noticed that the garbage lids seemed to have like claw marks dug into them. Now, these are the old-fashioned metal, those old metal garbage cans that we grew up with. And they're dented and looks like claw marks are in it. And as she's looking at this puzzle, she has bringing out her garbage. She hears a scream, and she looks up and she sees on the top of the inn a creature sitting there, kind of like a gargoyle, with wings, sitting there with glowing red eyes. And it looks at her, screams again, and then flies off and takes to the sky, so to speak. So now, she claims she wasn't afraid at all. She thought she was familiar with the New Jersey Devil and thought that the New Jersey Devil was kind of guarding over her inn, her restaurant, which is kind of weird if you ask me. But who knows? She might have just been either cuckoo or she might have been trying to drum up business for her, for her place too. But that was 1993. And then the sightings kind of vanish, in terms of major sightings. You don't hear much about it. And it's not until 2015. And that was the latest, the most modern that I could find. 2015. There's someone by the name of David Black who claims to have seen seen a creature in Leeds Point, which is the home of the devil, right? The origin, the place where supposedly he was born. Claims to have seen and described, but he describes it as a llama, a llama with wings. So what he saw was kind of on he said that it was on 4 feet. It had a long neck like a llama, but it had bat wings, and that it could stand up on 2 feet and walk. So it was kind of a little alteration of the traditional description of the devil. But that was his account in 2015, claims to have seen it and swore up and down about it. And then it wasn't until 2017, where a father and son were in Leeds Point again. And they claimed to have seen the devil twice. They actually saw it once, took a picture of it, came back again, and then saw it again. Now, they describe it a little bit different too. They describe it as not having wings, but as kind of like the horse head and the long neck and the horse head. And they also described it as being kind of small, like kind of 3 to 4 feet long, and that they said it's a shape. They described it as a shapeshifter in the sense that it could disappear. Like they would watch it, then it would disappear, then it would pop up someplace else. So I don't know. And I watched a video about these guys. I mean, they seem credible. They don't look like they are crazy. They don't look like they're trying to get anything out of it. And they did have a picture. The picture was kind of blurry. It was taken with a little small cell phone back in 2016 or 17. So it wasn't 4K, it wasn't a major phone like that, which you get clear pictures. And it was pretty far away. And it was the creature was like in a bog, and they were up on the the rim of it, on the land, and they saw this creature in the distance about 150 yards and took this picture. And they swear it's the Jersey Devil. So what does all this tell us, right? Hey Toro, how are you? Good to see you. What does it tell us? It tells us that there's plenty of people out there, countless people that claim to have seen this creature in different forms. So I don't know. Maybe there's multiple creatures for all I know. Now, is it magical? Is it supernatural? Is it a demon? All that stuff. Your guess is as good as mine, but at least it's never hurt anyone. It's never caused any harm. No one's ever alleged to have caused it any harm, except for the original story or legend, which And the thing about all these sightings, they're all word of mouth things. They're all stories that you hear around campfires, and you're passed on to one or the other. And a lot of them, other than the 1909, all that hysteria, which is documented, 1909. A lot of these things are just individual sightings of people, what they claim to have seen, and they pass it on. And what do you believe? Do you believe them, or do you don't believe them? Who knows? I mean, I always try to keep an open mind, but um, was Jane Leeds a witch that cursed her child and it turned into a demon? Who knows? Or was it was there a deformed child that people said was a demon? Who knows? You're talking about 1735. So every legend has some basis of fact in it. So there must have been something strange about the Leeds family that caused this to grow and expand. Maybe it's just jealousy because the Leeds family was there first and had taken up a lot of land and named a town after them. Who knows? But it's just interesting folklore that is rooted in um, the unknown, right? The bone chilling unknown that's out there on a dark night in the woods, the deep pine barrens where there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing but fir trees and bogs. It's just the perfect environment for your imagination to go crazy and scare the hell out of you. So, um, so that's what I know. I mean, that's what I found out about the Jersey Devil, our own little monster, I should say, for New Jersey, our official New Jersey monster. Blaming on a bear? Yeah, that's a good point. I watch if there was an attack that could have been blamed on a bear. Yeah, that's true. Could have been. Uh, that whole thing about the pigs. Could that have been a bear? I mean, it's so bizarre, though. A bear's not just going to eat the brains of the creature. I mean, the brains of pigs or hogs. It's not going to drain the blood. It's going to take it away and eat it, right? So or the same thing with like a bobcat or any other type of coyotes, anything like that. They wouldn't leave the carcasses there. So it's so weird. If it wasn't some supernatural creature like a devil, like this Jersey Devil, then it would have to be some freak people doing that stuff. Freaky people, so to speak. Gianni, yeah, yeah. I guess that's that you would call the New Jersey Devil a cryptoid. I guess you would. Kind of like Bigfoot or Dogman or whatever other things they are, supernatural creatures, shapeshifters or whatever they might be. Yeah, Sasquatch is right, right, right. Yeah, I think it falls into that same category, really. I mean, I think this is a little less than that. I mean, it's not. I don't think there's as much belief in this. Like, there's people that really believe in Bigfoot. They're like they swear. I think some of this stuff, people attribute the devil to something that they say that they can't describe. Right? They can't figure out what they saw, so they call it the Jersey Devil, so to speak. you know, I don't have a real explanation for thousands of sightings. I don't really have an explanation. But if it was just some type of strange animal, it would be dead by now, right? How would it be still alive if it was just a strange looking animal? Uh, and and if if it's still around, how would it be reproducing if there's only one of them? So it's so weird. There's really no explanation. The legend is the legend, and people take the legend and do what they want with it. They believe in it or they don't believe in it. Bigfoot maybe, or the Dogman. Yeah, I mean, Dogman, I guess, is supposed to be a werewolf, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? Really, just another name for a werewolf. But yeah, thank you, Carmela. Uh, let's see what else is going on in the chat here, guys. I'm just trying to catch up here. Well, yeah, I'm assuming that because no one ever says that they're harmed, right? That no one has ever added someone being harmed to any of these stories. So I would think if someone was harmed, you would have heard about it, right? Why wouldn't they tell that part of the story? Or maybe the people that were actually harmed, he couldn't tell a story, right? They're dead. That could be it too. I don't know. That's a good point. Hey, Adam, how are you? Well, thank you for pressing that like button. I appreciate it. Shapeshifters on YouTube, Carmela? Yes, there are plenty of them, right? Shapeshifters, yes. Do I remember Pedals the bear used to walk on two legs? Yes. Yeah, bears actually. Yeah, bears are known to walk on two legs. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that forest ranger. That's what many people said that forest ranger saw was a bear walking on two legs. But my point on that is that he's a forest ranger. He should be fired if he doesn't know what a bear is, right? He can't recognize a bear. I don't care if it's walking on 2 feet or not. You should know that, right? So I don't know about that encounter. That might have been something that he's just nuts, or maybe he had a few too many to drink. I don't know, but he should definitely know what a bear is, being a forest ranger. If it flies south for the winter. Okay, yeah, you know what? That's a good point. But these are always but here's the interesting part, though. I watch is that the sightings tend to be in the winter, right? They tend to be where snow on the ground and stuff. So if it's flying south, it's must be in Canada and it's coming down here for the winter. But yeah, most of the sightings are in the winter, which is interesting. Not all of them, but most of them. It screams are having him trying to make friends. Yeah, maybe he is. Maybe he just has no voice, right? He has bad vocal cords there. Yeah, well, thank you, Carmel and Gerard. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, right? That's what this is. This is fun. This is entertainment. That's what the whole purpose here. I'm not trying to prove anything. Remember, I'm just a storyteller. That's all I want to do is tell stories and make you think and hope you get entertained by it. That's my whole goal here. And my buddy here, Poe. No, wait, is this Poe? No, this is Edgar. The other guy's Poe. Yeah, exactly. Right. If you look like a horse bad, you'd scream. I think I would too. Who wants to? I would stay away from the mirror. That's for sure. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. So I don't know if anybody has had just, we have a few more minutes before I end this, but so what has anyone ever encountered anything strange out there that they've seen that they can't explain? I'm just curious. I know somebody from high school who swears that he saw Bigfoot. He swears that he saw Bigfoot on the side of the road going up to on the Adirondack Mountains on the side of the road. He said he saw something that was 8 foot tall, black, 8 foot tall thing standing there. I think he probably saw a tree, but he swears he saw something. So I'm just wondering if anybody has ever seen anything. Thank you, Maureen. Appreciate it. Most of the birds are gone. Really, Gerard? For you already? They've already flew south? Wow. Yes, the Jersey Devils, the New Jersey Devils. Actually, I'm going to see them on the 13th. I got my tickets. This is going to be a good year for them. Hopefully, they're going to get far in the playoffs. You have a good team this year. Maybe with a little hope of a scream here or there, they might win a game. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, you mean the one that Ralph sent after you, Gerard? He sent that 10-foot tall alien after you? Adam thinks Bigfoot is as real as Santa Claus. Well, Santa Claus lives right next door to me, so I guess he's real then. He actually summers here. Also, Gina, you saw a strange aircraft. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean that's the whole alien thing, right? I'm not really into aliens. I know a lot of people are. I saw the latest thing was that there's supposedly these alien bodies that the Mexican government, and that's the most ridiculous thing I've seen in my life. They look like they're made out of chalk, and they're supposed to be alien bodies. Come on, I mean, come on, people. Oh my lord! And you could find it anywhere on YouTube. You could find it. There's videos of it. Wait, so I watched. Let me wait a minute. So you were walking your dogs, and you ran into someone in red, kneeling and staring at you. Are you serious? On multiple, you had this happen on multiple occasions, or just once? That's crazy. I would scare the shit out of me. Honestly, that would scare me. That would scare me. That would scare me. That would creep me out beyond belief. Wow. More than once. Wow. Do you have like devil worshippers where you live? Maybe it's like people out there and doing rituals or something. I mean, that's really bizarre. I know when we were kids, there was always the devil worshippers are in this area. Devil worshippers come to this area. It was always something that we were always worried about. Mm-hmm. You were afraid, Gerard. You were afraid to empty the garbage. Yeah, well, I was afraid. I'd be afraid too. A lot of times. Well, didn't you grow up in Chicago? I thought you grew up in Chicago, or you lived in Chicago. I don't know if you grew up there, but I'd be afraid in Chicago too. Cults, yeah, cults, yeah. I mean, that's my guess. If that's what you really encountered, it could be a cult. I mean, and it's not just Indiana; they could be anywhere. Cults, they can happen anywhere. Unfortunately, sometimes people get hurt, really get hurt or killed from that stuff. That stuff's really crazy. There's no fun there. There's no fun with that stuff. Well, thanks, Gina. I appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my story for tonight. I hope you guys like it. Seems like you did. It seems like you enjoyed it. Sorry I got started so late. I had to go to a 50th birthday party, and so couldn't do my 9 o'clock start. But we have the Godfather episode coming up on Sunday, I believe. I think we should be able to do it. I haven't heard anything different. I don't know. I'll have to check and see. Never can tell with these three, me and them and those two guys. Who knows? No, it would freak me out too. I watch without a doubt. Yep. Rich people in Westchester had gatherings. Really? Is it like that movie, that Tom Cruise movie? What was it called? Eyes Wide Shut. Creepy. Creepy sex cult. Um, so I'm thinking. Oh, I just wanted to give you guys a head up. What I'm going to do is around Halloween, I'm going to do an episode on Sleepy Hollow, or on the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So I think it's going to be interesting and fun, that one. I was thinking about maybe reading some of the actual verbiage, the actual literature, and then giving some background information that I found out, some factual information that shows where Washington Irving got his legend from. So I think it'll be interesting. Don't be afraid of your father, Gianni. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep. Blew out that guy. He was getting too low. Um Build a house right in the heart of the woods. Yeah. No, I know, Arlene. I know. It takes a certain type, right? I mean, I love the woods. I do love rural areas, but I also would not want to be the only house in the woods. You know what I mean? That's too scary for me. I would not. I'd be so uneasy all the time. I would not want to do that. I mean, I like my space from people, but I wouldn't want to be the only people in the middle of the woods. Not good. Not for me. Yeah, I watch. I guess so. Right. That's where the devil came from. I mean, it was a curse, supposedly cursed by Jane Leeds on her 13th child. That came true. Turned it into a devil right in front of her eyes. Oh, Patty, that's fell asleep. That's fine. Yeah, watch it whenever you want. That's the cool thing about YouTube, right? You can watch it whenever you have time, whenever you want. It's not going anywhere. It's here. So watch it whenever it's convenient for you. One time, my neighbor said a dark hooded guy was near my window and ran across my yard. When he turned the lights on, he thought it was me. Huh. Hmm. Was it like a hoodie hood, or was it like a ceremonial hood? That's really the scarier part, right? Your sister and brother-in-law lives 3 miles from anything? Where do they live, Adam? Where could that possibly be? They're the only people within 3 miles of anything? Where's this? But they live in Montana? Where do they live? That seems kind of hard to do. Hospital is 4 miles away. That's not far at all. I mean, the nearest hospital to me is more than 4 miles, so that's not really a big deal. Yeah, but Adam, they can't be 3 miles from everybody at all in Clinton. That's not possible. They own 3 miles of land. I don't understand. Like, where would they be where they would have 3 miles where no one at all lives? Do they live next to a reserve or something? A Ouija board? No, I don't like that. I don't like that stuff, Patty. I don't Ouija board. No way. That's not my. That is not me. Not my cup of tea. No way. You don't. I don't play with that stuff. I'm with you. I am with you. I think the 13th thing freaked some people out. They will watch the replay. Yeah, well, who knows? Oh, it's in Maine. Okay. You just said it was Clinton. uh, oh, is there a place called Clinton in Maine? It's possible. Maybe that's the name of the town in Maine. I don't know. But Clinton, New Jersey, you can't go 3 miles without hitting somebody. He asked me about it and was really freaked out. Oh, well, interesting. I watch. I don't know. 13, like 13, the unlucky number. While in Italy, it's considered lucky. So it's all about cultural, right? Whether 13 is unlucky. The Anglo culture, it's unlucky. And in the Italian culture, it's lucky. So um Wantage. Yeah, Wantage. No, Wantage is far from me, Patty. That's Sussex County, right? That's really not close to me at all. That's up there. That's up. It's up like in the northwest corner of New Jersey. It's just way up there. Clinton Road, yes. Yes, Arlene. Clinton Road, yes, is supposed to be haunted. Absolutely, yes. I've heard about that, and I got to do some research on that. I'm going to do some research and see if I could do it. If there's enough information that I find, I can do a show on that. I've heard that. But thank you for bringing that up. That's definitely something that I heard about. Yeah, no Ouija boards. You won't see me talking about Ouija boards or doing anything with Ouija boards. So no way, man. No way. I can't believe they sold that as a game. Like that's sold as a game, man. That's creepy stuff. You sell that to kids as a game? Come on. No, Clinton Road is not I don't think it's in Fairfield. I think it's yeah, I think it's in Warren County or Hunterdon County. I watch what is AHS? I'm not familiar with that abbreviation. Is that a show? Have a good night, Gerard. Thank you for stopping in. You can do the spirit box on your phone? Oh, no, thank you. I don't want to do a spirit box. Thank you. I'll pass on the spirit box. Well, not just nursery rhymes. What about the fairy tales, right? Fairy tales come from very dark places. The Grimm fairy tales, and the Aesop fairy tales, very, very dark tales. Oh, American Horror Story. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. I watch. I didn't recognize that. Yeah, it seems like Patty had a scare from a Ouija board. I don't know. I would not be playing with that. So you don't have to scare me. I will. I just will stay away from that altogether. Oh boy, Patty. I don't want to hear about that. You speaking with the devil? Wow, that's terrible. We don't want to hear that. You tell him to go scratch. Ralph would tell him to go scratch. Right, John. You don't want to invite them. You're absolutely right. You don't want to invite things in. Don't open that door. You know. I wonder if anybody ever had encountered like a benevolent, not a malevolent, a benevolent ghost, like a fun ghost, like a, someone that's kind of friendly. I like those stories. Those are kind of interesting. I think that would be kind of cool to live in a house with a benevolent ghost. It's spelled "come with me." I said, "How?" It's spelled "kill yourself." Wonderful. Oh my God. Terrible. That's terrible. Yeah, Casper, Gianni, right? Somebody like Casper. But I've heard stories like that. Stories of like a kid ghost or something where it just plays tricks. Harmless little tricks. You know. Yeah, Penny, I'd do the same thing. I would absolutely do the same thing. I would not. First of all, I wouldn't have done it to begin with. You got more brain. You got more bravery than I do. But the minute something like that happened, forget about it. That would go right in the trash. Hey, Paul C, how are you? Yeah, go back and watch it. It's a cool, it's interesting story I put together. It's kind of like a chronology of New Jersey sightings, New Jersey devil sightings. So it'll be interesting. Go back and look at it when you get a chance. You were alone, Patty? Well, how do you do? I thought you had to have somebody do the Ouija board with you. I thought you required two people. You could do a Ouija board by yourself. Excuse me. I thought that was the whole trick of the Ouija board. More than one person's hands on it. So if that thing was moving completely on its own, forget about it. I don't even know how you. I would have had a heart attack right there. So the thing moves on its own, Patty? That's nuts. That's nuts. Spooky poem about last night. I saw a man who wasn't there. He wasn't there again today. I wish he'd go away. No, I never heard that one. Your fingers were on it and it moves. Well, I'm sorry, no way, dude. I'm not going near that. I am not going near that. No way. But, we all live and learn, right? Well, that sounds creepy, Adam, meeting him on the stairs. I'll have to look that up. That does sound like a creepy poem. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm gonna wrap this up. I want to, as always, thank you guys for watching and spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed tonight's stories, however you want to call it. Um, yeah, no, Gianni, I'm shutting her down. So, no, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Um, so, everyone, have an awesome weekend. It's going to be rainy here in New Jersey because of this storm. So, buckle down and relax. get cozy and buckle down a little bit and enjoy the time to yourself if you can, or with family. That's the best. I love this time of year anyway. So the storm will make it even more cozy. But as always, I want to thank you so much for joining. Please hit the like button if you can on the way out. I really appreciate it, and it helps. And as always, I say God bless to each and every one of you. I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for being here, and stay scared. Remember, build the guild. And we will do our ceremonial blowing out of the candles. 1, 2, 3. Good night.